Welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, DJ Marcotte and John Soroyce. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, the working class podcast. We are the blue collar ballers. I'm DJ and I have a cold, so I'll try to trudge through this episode with my partner here, John Soroyce.
What's up, guys?
John's at 2977 on Twitter, and I'm at Armchair Kingpin on Twitter. And today we're going to react to week 2, and we'll talk about some waivers in the process. So, interesting week, a little bit more back to normal, but still some crazy stuff going on. Tight ends, I think the top 5, you didn't see George Kittle in there. You didn't see Zach Ertz in there, so some interesting stuff going on this week. Not as crazy as week 1, but still interesting. I think normally the fantasy football world settles in around week 4, John, wouldn't you say?
I think after this week, especially week 2, these injuries that we're going to talk about here shortly are going to shake up, I think, the league. And it kind of showed it yesterday in a couple of the games, but we'll go over that.
Yeah, let's segue right into the news then.
Yeah, excuse me. So starting off, Tyrell Williams is questionable this week with a hip pointer. If he were to miss time, Hunter Renfrow would probably be the sole beneficiary of the targets. Actually, Renfrow, I believe, had 8 or 9 targets in that game. Not too bad. It didn't show it stat line-wise, but he is seeing more volume. So Tyrell Williams has been just lights out the number 1 receiver there, especially without Brown never going there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Williams was a pretty good sleeper candidate kind of coming into this season, even with Antonio Brown on the squad. He's a really good receiver, and he's proven to be a really good receiver in the past. He's never really proven to be a number 1, but so far so good. Hopefully this injury doesn't hold him back. I mean, that would be pretty heartbreaking for the Raiders, and already having a pretty tumultuous offseason with the whole Brown fiasco / scandal / whatever.
Yeah, we'll go into that more here shortly. So Devin Singletary is considered day-to-day with a hamstring issue. More updates will come this week. They're doing further testing, but at the moment...
Just real quick on that, we'll get into that game, but Singletary is just so much more efficient
than
Frank Gore. Gore got almost 20 carries and at 3.6 yards a carry, and Singletary's at 9.5. And that was after outperforming him in terms of efficiency week 1 as well. It's only, to me, it's only a matter of time, but Singletary might be out for a little bit here.
Yeah, that's what they're digging into with these tests. And then if he were to miss time, especially like this week, let's say TJ Yeldon would be probably the one to spell him. So you'd get the reps. It'd be him and Gore.
They have a deep backfield there.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Yeldon can run the ball too, but I think they'll just go back and forth. I don't think they want to bury Gore, but at this point, Gore's burying himself with his stat line. So,
he's
just stay tuned.
He's just bad. He's just volume. And I don't know how long that's going to last. But, I mean, it's going to last if Singletary's out, that's for sure.
I mean, the one thing I'll give Gore, his durability, especially for his age, he's been there. It's just not the production is there anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that he's still out there getting 20 carries.
Frank the Tank.
Yeah.
In other news, David Johnson, after his possible wrist injury, yes, I guess he...
Is this the same wrist as before?
That I don't know. It didn't say which wrist it was, but he said he is good to go this week. Okay. So that is very inspiring news for this week. So
he had that, basically a season-ending wrist injury.
Yep. He did come back into this game, so I think he missed like half the quarter, but he's...
Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on. So other news, Oakland Raiders, Josh Jacobs is dealing with a groin injury. Don't know the extent of it yet. Something to keep an eye on. DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard.
We saw a lot of Richard specifically, and even Washington out snapped him in terms of passing snaps, and he didn't even catch a pass. So I thought that was so different than the game script that they had the week before. And of course they got, blown out.
Yeah, we'll go into that more.
Yeah, but a little discouraging there. I do own shares of Josh Jacobs, but less discouraging knowing that he's dealing with a little bit of a groin issue. Hopefully it goes away quick and it's
overall though he looks good. He actually looks good. I would have liked
really
to seen, like you said, what he did week 1, but you got to figure he missed at least a quarter and a half here.
Well, he didn't lose me my week, thankfully, but he didn't help. That's for sure.
No, he could have got you some more out of points if he had not missed that time.
9.9 points, so he couldn't get that one more yard for me, I guess.
Twitter was blown up about that. They're like, 1 more yard, please.
Yeah.
1 more yard.
Well, yeah, for leagues that don't have, I guess decimals or
the
fractions. Sorry, not decimals. Been a long time since I've been in school, but anyway, for leagues that don't have fraction points, that's a whole point, not just a tenth of a point.
So this is the big news, but it's always about him.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a good debut with the Patriots, but Antonio Brown's back in the news again. Every week I told you. So this time there's a second accuser that alleges misconduct by Brown. That's been spoken. The NFL says they are going to schedule a meeting with Brown and his lawyer this week, as well as the original accuser. So the investigation, I believe, it was supposed to open today. So another part of it is, I haven't heard the full details on it, but Brown apparently avoided the media yesterday. Could face discipline for the league for this, they're saying, possibly.
He won't. He's a Patriot. He'll be fine. But the other news that came out last week, I mean, doesn't Belichick kind of avoid the media every time he has a press conference?
No, he has a press conference. He just doesn't say much. That's the thing. He doesn't avoid him.
What's the difference?
There really is no
Marshawn
difference.
Lynch does that, and he gets fined.
The weird thing about the whole media thing was they went into the locker room. His nameplate, his number, everything was gone.
Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that.
So I don't.
What I will kind of read into though is the news that not a lot of people are talking about that came out that this guy was trying to settle out of court with this girl.
She's actually from what the rumors are saying. She is the one who is trying to settle out of court. She proposed him.
He has to. No, he was engaged in conversations to settle. You need to read that again, because. Yeah, this was a mutual thing, and then she asked for too much, basically, and he said no. So if he's innocent, why is he engaged in settlement talks? I don't know. There's
a lot to this. Just like there's pictures of her sitting on his lap. I mean, let the league do its work. I'm just honestly, it gets old every week talking about Antonio Brown.
It does, but it's serious stuff, man.
Yeah.
And New England is avoiding it. And I don't know that that's the right thing to do. I guess it all depends on the NFL does not necessarily go hand in hand with the law. And if they don't like what they hear in this meeting with this woman, then it's going to be a bad situation for the New England Patriots, who claim they don't know anything about this, and Brown himself.
Well, stay tuned. I guarantee you'll make the news every day this week. So
because he's an idiot. He's going to do something that gets him in the news. This guy's a clown, dude. He's a clown.
Antonio Clown?
Yeah, definitely.
So next news, Michael Gallup will miss 2 to 4 weeks. I'm sad because he was my sleeper this week. He was actually doing well, too. He will undergo arthroscopic surgery for his torn meniscus. My guess is I think he'll miss closer to 4 weeks than he will 2 weeks. I know meniscus is kind of clean you out, but that was the only damage. It wasn't more structural damage.
But they've got Cobb. They've got Pollard who can catch passes.
Yep.
They've got, obviously, Amari Cooper. And Witten's played well so far.
Yeah, very well. Actually, he's on pace for 16 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, yeah. And he's a touchdown-dependent guy. But, yeah, so, I mean, the offense just looks really good under Moore. It looks really good.
No, Moore's done a great job.
Hopefully Gallup doesn't mess that up too much, but he'll be back.
So, in other news, James Conner's knee injury.
Sweet matchup this week, though, against Miami. Just throwing that out there.
I think they're going to run a lot, but I could be wrong. Wait and see. James Conner injury is not considered serious.
No.
But they are doing further testing. If he were to miss time, Jalen Samuels would start if Conner was to miss any time, and I believe Benny Snell would be involved more. From what they're saying, they're not 100% on that.
Why don't we package that with the Roethlisberger news?
Yeah, I can. Big Ben, if you haven't heard, is out for the season. He is undergoing surgery for his elbow, and Mason Rudolph will replace him at QB, which he didn't look.
No, he looked fine.
He didn't look too bad. You can remember the kid's getting thrown into the fire. I believe Mason Rudolph wasn't he part of the Giants before?
not to my knowledge.
I thought he got traded.
I thought he got drafted by them, but I could be wrong.
I could be wrong too.
I am not by any means Mason Rudolph's publicist.
So if you were, I'm not too worried about it. But speaking of Giants, New York Giants.
But listen, no, we got it, dude. There's a lot to unpack on that whole Pittsburgh situation. I mean, with Big Ben out, what does it do to the value of Juju? What does it do to the value of Connor if he's out there? And if Connor's out, I mean, I think Juju's fine. But
I think from what I saw from the stat lines and from watching bits and pieces of the game,
he actually played better with Rudolph than he did with Roethlisberger. He got more production with Rudolph.
Yes, he got targeted more.
And he got more yards. And
I don't
think catches too. But James Washington, John, this offseason and specifically in the preseason, clicked really well with Rudolph. And we just picked him up in our
what happened in that game as well? Dante Moncrief was benched.
Yeah, so I think if Washington, we want to talk waiver wire stuff, I would definitely get after James Washington if he's on the waiver wire in your league. And he probably is in a lot of leagues because I think his stock's going to rise significantly. And I think Juju will be a fine, solid wide receiver too, with wide receiver 1 upside. I think he could be the same Juju. Who knows? But my take is I'm a little nervous until I see more. So I would say wide receiver 2 with 1 upside. I have Devontae Adams now, so it's nice to have Juju.
I actually had to say, so if you guys weren't aware, had to do a trade with DJ. I lost Hunter Henry last week. Sterling Shepard was out, so we ended up doing a trade.
I could feel you tilting once Henry was out.
And he offered me a deal I had to take. I mean, yes, I'm giving him Devontae Adams, but it was a sweet deal on my part. And actually, it looks like if everything goes okay, I should win my week this week. So,
yeah. No, I think you've got it locked in. But if you guys are curious, the offer was I offered John. John had traded me his 2nd round pick at some point in the offseason, so I owned his second. So I traded him that. I traded him Matt Breida, who we both like a lot. I traded him Mark Andrews, who I love, and I touted all offseason.
And that's who I wanted.
And I traded him Kenny Golladay. And was there another piece to... Oh, and McLovin.
Who I McLove.
So it was the first 4, and then I'm like, dude, you want McLovin too? I'll throw you him. And
that's what sold me when he threw
McLovin.
I
can't pass that up. So now I have Devontae Adams, and I still have Diggs and Juju and Lenny and Jacobs at running back. So I have a really good core. And Kittle, of course. And O.J. Howard, but we'll talk about him later. And John gets quite a bit of depth. So that's how a trade should work.
And, this trade ultimately will help me for later on weeks, especially with the bye week coming up in week 4, I believe, the bye week start.
I think they do, yeah.
So this should actually help. And the way injuries have been this year, I don't know. I feel like this year there's more injuries than ever, but I could be wrong. I think we feel that every year. But wait and see, I guess. But this definitely helped my team out. So let's go to more news, and then we're almost done.
Think about it before we move on. Just look at quarterback alone. Not necessarily injury, but luck. Roethlisberger and Breeze.
And Foles.
They gone already. And it's only week 3.
That's 4. Anyway. Yeah. So in other quarterback news, New York Giants' Pat Shurmur has declined to name his week 3 quarterback starter. Is it time for Danny Jones?
Why? Why not? I would be more concerned with their defense. Just saying. I would be concerned with their entire team, but I don't know.
Oh, it's a wait and see. I guess we're going to find out later this week or possibly on Saturday. Something to stay tuned on. If you think Daniel Jones can turn this team around, I think it's an overall team issue, not just a quarterback issue.
I agree. And Buffalo's a good team. They're not a great team, but they're a good team.
No,
they're better than people give
They're
them credit
a rebuilding team, I guess is the way they want to say it.
They're on the up, I think.
Yes.
And the Giants are on the downswing. I don't know. If they drafted Jones to play him and they don't think they can win with Eli, then yeah. Put him in there week 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he played great in the preseason, but it's preseason. But
if you're losing with Eli and you don't think you're going to win with him, then give the kid a try. You know what I mean? Daniel Jones, let's go.
Good old Danny Jones.
And by the way, anytime you have a new quarterback going, get him off the waiver wire. Teddy Bridgewater, get him off the waiver wire because you just don't know. If the guy blows up,
this is my take. I don't
wanna
know.
get off track too
I don't
much,
know if they're gonna start Bridgewater this week. I could be wrong. He did okay yesterday, but he did not do great. I think my prediction, and it could happen. It might not happen this week, or it could happen next week. I think Taysom Hill's gonna start at quarterback.
I've heard rumblings of that.
Because Taysom Hill is like.
Let's not forget the Rams, especially when Aqib Talib's out there. John, is a really good defense.
Oh no, they looked. I mean, you got to hand it for the Saints defense for keeping them in that game as long as they did. But when the offense ain't producing, let's be honest.
But the refs bogarted a touchdown from the Saints.
Yep.
Again.
Oh yeah.
Because the league hates the Saints all of a sudden. I don't know what that's all about.
For some reason, there's hatred.
But the last 3 games the Saints have played, the refs have taken them to the cleaners.
So I mean, even if that touchdown would have been it,
they would have lost.
The Rams
anyway.
just dominated that game. So
Brees
we'll go on more as we go over box scores. LaShawn McCoy is slated for an MRI on his ankle. And
Williams is hurt too, right?
And Damian Williams has a knee injury. I was doing a combo there.
Darwin Thompson.
Darwin Thompson time. So my thing is McCoy, it sounds like MRI usually means some type of time missed. And with Damian Williams, we don't know the extent yet. They haven't gone into it. He did leave the game. So my guess is he's at least going to miss a week unless this is not bad.
Sniffling over here. I don't care if both these guys play this weekend. Get Darwin Thompson if he's on the waiver wire, because McCoy's old and Damian Williams is not a workhorse back. So eventually I think Thompson's going to get his hay, and it may be this week. It may be in week 6. It may be for the playoff stretch, for your fantasy playoff stretch. But I think he's a great stash if you don't already have him.
Melvin Gordon's still available.
Well, I don't think he's available.
Well, I'm saying a trade could be. You never know.
Yeah, is he? I don't know. I mean, but that
Melvin
that's a
who?
possibility. If Melvin Gordon went on that team, that they would be even at this point, even without Tyreek Hill, probably more stacked than New England, because I think.
Oh no, I think Melvin Gordon could be that missing piece there that puts them. They're already playing over the top.
Yeah.
Their defense. I mean,
it's sick. Anyway,
we'll go into it.
Yeah.
So this was sad yesterday. Drew Brees tore his thumb ligament. He is expected to miss 6 weeks.
So again, look at what is the impact on Michael Thomas? What is the impact on Alvin Kamara? I think that team is structured in a way where in PPR you're fine with those guys because Thomas is going to be targeted heavily. Kamara is going to be targeted heavily. If it were me, I'd be more. I think Jared Cook might be droppable at this point.
No, I watched most of that game yesterday.
Can't go by one game.
No, I'm not going by one game. I'm going by what I saw. Thomas got the targets, got the receptions.
Yeah.
Kamara looked like he paid for it the most because.
See, to me, Latavius Murray looked like he paid for it the most because he was just a non-factor. Like a non-factor.
Yeah, but Kamara was as well. He didn't really. We'll go over that more in detail.
But I think Kamara, his upside and his usage is going to be pretty consistent moving forward. I think, and plus a team that loses their star quarterback in mid-game. I don't know. I wouldn't be as concerned with Kamara as I would with Murray and with Cook, but we'll touch on that.
Eagles are hurting. I think half the team went down at one point last night.
That's a shame.
Deshaun Jackson groin, Alshon Jeffrey injury.
The one Eagle I wanted to own this year, Miles Sanders. Everybody heard me talk about him on the podcast, so they reached for him. Other than that, I don't really own Eagles. Like Ertz is always.
I have Ertz on a dynasty
goes
team.
Too high for me, or I'd rather have Kittle or Kelsey. You know what I mean? So I was loving it because I needed Carson Wentz to calm down last night and not have a big game. And until the fourth quarter, he didn't, but I still won.
Yeah, but even Wentz is hurting because he took a pretty good shot a couple times to his ribs. They haven't said anything.
Yeah.
The extent of how injured he is.
Well, he got taken out of the game to be examined for concussion, and then he went back in. He wasn't happy that he got taken out, but the rules are the rules, unless you're Bill Belichick and you put Julian Edelman out there with a concussion in the Super Bowl and get away with it. Sorry, I gotta have my digs every once or
fine.
twice. But yeah, no, he came back out, and I'd argue he looked better when he came back out. He had a really good fourth quarter, and then Julio Jones just did what Julio Jones does. But we'll get into that in the breakdowns. It was awesome.
So that's a bit about it in news, other than some minor stuff. Nothing really
wait
going.
a minute, John. Hold on.
Did I miss one bit of news?
You're forgetting something, bro.
Oh, actually, they're...
You're forgetting something, dude. Somebody was working out with the Detroit Lions.
Sheriff Driscoll got a tryout.
Sheriff Driscoll.
We knew he'd be back.
Do you think did he get signed yet?
I don't think so. I think they tried him out is all I read.
You better sign Sheriff Driscoll. All right.
The way quarterbacks are going down this year, I'd sign.
I know. Anytime I can shoehorn Sheriff Driscoll news in, is good.
He made it
good
back
day
in.
for me. Yeah, I told you he would.
So now we're going to recap week 2.
Week 2 already.
Yep. Week 2, we're going to go into the Tampa Bay and Carolina Panthers game. Tampa Bay won 20-14 over the Panthers.
Break the fourth wall here. There's like a bookmark thing on the side of my laptop, and I can't figure out how to get rid of it. It just magically went away. So I'm like, how do you get rid of this?
So we'll start with Tampa Bay.
I just talked like Sheriff Driscoll for some reason.
Winston was 16 of 25 for 208 yards and 1 TD. He was sacked 3 times. I don't think he looked that good.
They might need Sheriff
it
Driscoll
doesn't look
over there, too.
It doesn't look horrible, but it's still not the efficiency we're looking for.
It's not good. It's horrible. I would argue it's horrible. I mean, his QBR is 54.9, bro.
Yep.
You don't get much more horrible than that.
Oh, you do on the other side of the ball. But we'll talk about that after.
We'll talk about that. But if you look, let's talk about Cam. He at least threw for 333 yards. So he crushed him on yardage. He just didn't happen to throw a touchdown, and Jameis did. So, and they were both sacked a few times. You know what I mean? So the pressure is on these offensive lines, and I think that's a big part of the problem. I think Cam Newton's hurt too. I know what Cam looks like when he's healthy, and I know what Cam looks like when he's hurt. And this is the hurt Cam Newton. And they're saying he's not. I mean, Ron Rivera was all ticked off.
They're saying he's not, but he only ran the ball for 2 times for 0 yards. And that's not like Cam.
25 for 51. I mean, that's just awful. 27.5 QBR. Not good. And I think Cam's hurt, and I think it's hurting other guys. I mean, DJ Moore seems to be getting the targets, and that's awesome. He got targeted 14 times in this game. Curtis Samuel got targeted 13 times. So they're using these guys, and both had a good game. Samuel 5 for 91, Moore 9 for 89. But Greg Olsen 6 for 110.
Oh, he went off.
He looks like the old Greg Olsen at this point. But Christian McCaffrey 16 for 37. So I think you just can't count on every guy performing for Carolina every week, and I think it's because Cam is banged up. I don't care what Ron Rivera says. The eye test tells me that there's something wrong with him. I don't know if you agree with that.
He doesn't look right, so I don't know if it's a mental thing or if he's not healthy. He might have rushed himself back.
The only guys you can start every week, I think, in Carolina is McCaffrey because you're obligated to, and I don't think you'll see the 16 carries. I don't think you'll see the 2.3 yards per carry.
No.
Again.
This is probably one of his worst games ever. And I mean,
yeah.
let's be honest. His floor is usually 10. He's got a ceiling of like 30 or 40.
And I think DJ Moore's the other guy. I don't think Greg Olsen's going to give you that every week. Curtis Samuel, 18.2 yards per catch is a ridiculous number too. But I just don't think you can start Samuel every single week. I think he's a matchup guy. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Basically Moore and McCaffrey. For me, Chris Hogan caught a pass. You'll be happy to know. Then on the other side of the ball, John, Peyton Barber got 23 carries.
Yeah, I love that Ronald Jones hype. Jones is going to see more carries. Winston saw just as many carries as him.
They're both bad. And I'm sticking by the boogeyman, dude. Dare Ogunbowale is going to be the lead back on that team when it's all said and done. Because Ronald Jones got 4 carries for 9 yards, which is the same that Jameis Winston got. Jameis is a quarterback that gets sacked 3 times. So then you got Peyton Barber, 23 carries for 82 yards, and that is a vintage Peyton Barber stat line. That's what he does all the time. He just got lucky enough to get a touchdown.
And Dare was in a lot for pass protection. So it's just, you said, it's a matter of time before he starts.
He's just not getting the usage. And at some point, I don't know, man. I look at Bruce Arians as, I don't know if he's fool's gold or what, because he doesn't seem to be using the best players. Dare, I think, is their best running back. OJ Howard is electric. He didn't even catch that pass. I don't even think he got targeted, did he? No, he's not even on the stats for receiving. So I don't know what's going on there. I think they're finding themselves, and it might be a process here.
I know Aaron's had released a statement, or they asked him about OJ Howard. He says he's got the ability, but he has to try harder. So
I think his words were he needs to do a better job.
Yeah, so like I don't know if it's OJ Howard not giving 100%, or maybe he's making mistakes we're not seeing. So
no, and he probably is, and maybe hopefully that lights a fire under OJ, because he's arguably their most talented player on offense, and I don't think that's a stretch. I mean, Godwin's good, but he's not the physical specimen that Howard is, and Evans is good, but he's not as skilled as Howard is. You know, I really think he's the best player on their offense, and they got to get him involved, and I think that'll help with, you know, Mike Evans. I think I don't know, man. Their running game stinks, and they tried to fake it till they make it with their running game, so they need to try something different there.
I can tell you that Evans was completely right when he said at the beginning of the season that it would be either there is like no truly number one, because Godwin showed this week he was number one with 8 catches, 121 yards.
In a touchdown.
Target 9 times.
And he had a touch on week 1 as well. Is Evans a must start every week?
I think he is still. I still think he is. It's just he sometimes will start off slow and then just explode. But you remember week 1, he played with a sickness. Kind of like you are right now with illness. But you're here.
I'm here.
Exactly. He was there week 1 as well. Evans, a little disappointing stat line.
Yeah.
4 for 61. 8 targets. That's what you like to see. You like to see those targets.
Anywhere from 6 to 10 targets is good. And you're seeing guys get like heavily targeted, like Moore and Samuel. 14 and 13 targets. That's a huge target count right there. But yeah, so Carolina, although not scoring a ton of points, are giving you guys in PPR that are valuable. There's not much value in Tampa outside of Chris Godwin right now. It's really sad, and I hope they turn it around. But I'm telling you, John, and I don't, you know me, I think the offense was better with Turd Cutter. I really do.
It's week 2.
Well, I'm just telling you, dude. You know, it's ugly. So hopefully they can turn it around.
Wait and see. So, speaking of turd cutters, the 49ers played the Cincinnati Bengals, and the 49ers won 41-17. The turd looked like the Bengals, but
in a fantasy standpoint, John,
they were actually decent. Right. So we'll go over the Cincinnati side since they were the losing team. Cincinnati, Andy Dalton, 26 for 42 for 311 yards and 2 TDs.
What do you think Andy Dalton? Don't look. What do you think Andy Dalton's QBR was?
70.
10.2.
Ugh. Okay, not what I expected.
Which is weird, but he only converted half his passes.
So 1 interception, but overall
sacked 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, fantasy-wise, he didn't do that bad.
So look. What are you? What?
I apologize for that.
What is going on, John?
A video went off. I did not even know that.
What are you doing?
You know those stupid ads? I'm sorry.
You and your ads, man.
It was you last week.
No, it wasn't. That was you.
Oh, now he's blaming me. We can go back on that podcast.
Mute your computer.
So I apologize for that.
Wait, I don't think you can mute yours.
Yeah, I just did.
No. Oh, okay. Can you?
Yeah. All right. Cincinnati rushing game was irrelevant here. Mixon, 11 for 17. Gross, 1.5 yards. Which he was still banged up, I think. Could be wrong, though, too. Giovanni was...
He is hurt.
Yep, 6 carries for 6 yards, so nothing on the rushing side here. But the Cincinnati receiving side looked really good. Tyler Boyd was targeted 10 times, caught all 10 catches for 122 yards and 0 TDs.
That's awesome.
John Ross showed us that he's not a one-week wonder. Kind of, but...
Because... When did he get all his points? I literally think it was like the last play of the game.
But, hey.
Or one of the last plays of the game in complete garbage time. But
points are points, yep. He had 8 targets, 4 catches for 112 yards, and a TD.
Touchdown. Yeah.
After that, the only irrelevant Mixon did see 5 targets, 3 catches for 10 yards, but nothing great. And Tyler Eifert. 3 catches for 9 yards, but had a TD, so that's looking good.
Yeah, he's fine, but he's disappointing me with his targets. It's 5 targets isn't bad, I guess, for a tight end, but we've seen what Eifert's capable of out there. But Tyler Boyd looks great. John Ross looks great. I guess my question on the Bengals side of the ball, because actually Dalton is putting up good numbers too. Really.
That's 2 straight weeks at 300 yards.
Yeah, he's something. He's a streamer. He's a legit streamer. But for me, what is the landscape of this offense when AJ Green comes back? Does he take away from John Ross? I mean, if you look at this offense, they are trying to tailor it toward the LA Rams style. That what's the coach's name again? His name is escaping. Zach Taylor.
Yep.
Zach Taylor? Isn't that the guy from Saved by the Bell? Zach Taylor. Zach Thomas. That was Zach.
No, that's not Zach Thomas.
No,
is
Zach
linebacker.
Thomas is a linebacker. Anyway, Saved by the Bell was a great show. But yeah, no, he seems to be. It looks like Ross is the Brandon Cooks. It looks like Tyler Boyd is the Robert Woods. And I think when AJ comes back, you'll see that he fits that Cooper Kupp red zone threat mold. So I think if Green comes back reasonably soon, this could be a team that could turn it around. The offense doesn't look bad. It really does.
It's the defense.
The defense just got slaughtered by Garoppolo. So I'll let you expound on that or expand on that.
Let's go into San Fran. Jimmy G, 17 of 25 for 297, 3 TDs.
One of them to George Kittle. Can you throw a touchdown to George Kittle, Garoppolo? Actually, wait. You threw 2 of them in week 1 and the refs took them away. I'm not bitter about that.
I think the only way Pettis is involved now is that he did have one throw for one, one completion for one attempt for 16 yards. That's it. That's all Pettis was involved on.
I'm sorry.
That's it.
Yeah, let's not talk about Pettis because it looks like he's just being phased out. Breida and Mostert look great. With I would say limited carries, 12 carries for Breida, 13 for Mostert.
Jeff Wilson Jr.
He did. He had 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah. 3.4 yards a carry, though. If you're looking at efficiency, it's Mostert and Breida look great. And yeah, Wilson. Hey, Mr. Wilson. You know, he did pretty good, too.
They're spreading the love here. So, I mean, I think they knew they were up. They were just, you want to keep people healthy. They used everybody. But it was a really good game overall from all 3 running backs there, mostly Breida and Mostert. On the San Fran receiving side, Deebo Samuel had 7 targets, 5 catches for 87 yards and a TD. Marquise Goodwin, 3 targets, but he caught all 3 for 77 yards and a TD. And Raheem Mostert, 4 targets, 3 catches for 68 yards and a TD. And then
Mostert was a top 5 back this week.
Oh, he did well. He did very well. Oh, and guess who I played instead? Breida still had a good week, but I played Breida over Mostert, and I had Mostert on my end. Both of them. I have both of them.
But I think everybody would have done that.
Yeah.
But Mostert's legitimate, man. My question is, why the heck did they sign Tevin Coleman? They don't even need him. It's very clear that they don't need him. That was wasted money right there, if you ask me. But George Kittle disappointed, and I had him out there, 3 for 54. I don't think that's going to be the norm.
No.
Speaking of that not being the norm, Goodwin, Samuel, are you going to see that kind of production every week? I would temper my expectations on one of them. I just don't really know which one. Samuel got targeted pretty well, but Goodwin's got the chemistry with Garoppolo, and he is always where Garoppolo needs him to be. So these are guys that I would look for on the wire this week. I probably wouldn't go more than 5% of your fab budget on them. But so basically, if you guys don't understand fab, it's a lot of leagues have $100 of fab for a budget. So when I say 5% or 10%, it's always $5 to $10.
Yep.
And that's what I would spend on both of these guys. I don't know if you'd agree with that, John.
I would. I mean, this week was a totally different game script than last week. I mean, look at Kittle last week. Look at the amount of targets. Until there's more definitive, I guess, analytics
it's
to
just,
look at.
You're guessing.
Yeah. And you don't want to blow all your fab money on someone that you're not sure of until you know the distribution of what Jimmy is going to do. Or Shanahan, I should say, in that fact.
Yeah.
It's already changed from week 1.
Well, and you look at Pettis, he's a middling possession receiver, and I think everybody had a lot of hype around him last year because he was producing. But if you look at his tape, if you look at his history, he's a middle of the pack possession receiver. He's not a stud, and Deebo and Goodwin have more stud qualities than he does. So I think he's cuttable at this point. Maybe wait a week or two, but we'll see. I don't think they just don't seem like they like him there. Would you agree? Like, that's the vibe I'm getting. And even stuff that Shanahan says, it doesn't
He's
feel
the
like they
starter,
even like
but
him.
yet he's not playing. Or he's playing, but he's more a decoy, I guess is the word to use.
Knows?
I don't know.
So it's a little weird there. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't spend a ton of fab on the 49ers receiving options, but definitely you can dip your toe in the water there. And Kittle will be fine. Don't you guys worry about him.
It's only 1 week.
Yep.
So next game, Los Angeles Chargers at the Detroit Lions. Lions win this 13-10. We'll go into the Chargers side first. Phillip Rivers, very disappointing stat line this week. Did not expect this, but I started him, so I paid for it.
Well,
but
you asked me who should I start, and honestly, Detroit's defense is pretty good, and they were pretty good last year, and because your options were Cousins and Rivers,
but Rivers did better than Cousins, so I'm kind of slightly better. So Phillip Rivers, 21 of 36 for 293 yards and 1 interception, 0 TDs, but he was sacked 6 times.
Yeah. Dude, what are you doing over there?
Why do I have all the ads going on my end? I don't get it.
What are you doing, man?
I got to watch these ads. They keep popping up. So that was the Monday night game for tonight.
Dude, come on, be a professional, will ya?
On the rushing side, Austin Eckler, 17 carries for 66 yards.
Be a
and
professional.
TD.
I'm going to slurp on my Roman.
But he only averaged 3.9 yards a carry. But Eckler also caught 6 catches for 67 yards and 0 TDs, but 6 targets. So he overall had a good game, a really good game, actually.
Eckler?
Yep.
Yeah, he's good. That boy good.
Justin Jackson.
Another great
efficiency. It's just, I mean,
he's not getting the usage.
He's not. He did get a target though, which you didn't see last time.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Seattle, and we'll talk about that because guess who?
It's 1 week.
It's 1 week. It's 1 week. Penny had better efficiency for the season last year than who's that guy's name? Chris Carson. Yeah, Chris Carson. That bum. Well, that had like 3 yards a carry.
We can call Carson a bum this year because I don't have him on any team, so he ain't gonna hurt me.
We'll get to that game.
So
I just get excited. I'm excited.
Justin Jackson, 7 carries for 59 yards, and he did have 1 catch for 5 yards. So
and Eckler's been known to get hurt in the past.
Yeah,
so I definitely if Jackson's on the waiver wire, you need to go get him.
So he's a great handcuff for Eckler.
Yeah.
But he averaged 8.4 yards a carry. Jackson did. So that's keep an eye on. Keenan Allen, even lined up against Darius Slay, had a good day. He got targeted 15 times.
Was he lined up against Slay, though?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, because he wasn't supposed to be, and I don't know. I didn't actually catch a lot of that game.
So he had 8 catches.
Because I have a real job, and I was at it.
He had 8 catches for 98 yards, so not too bad of a day. No TDs. Mike Williams, considered being injured and was questionable to play, had 5 targets, 3 catches for 83 yards, so not too bad. Other than that,
so Williams too. There was some news going into the game that he was going to be used exclusively in red zone situations. So, yeah, that's a great stat line for him.
Considering he was questionable to play, I don't know who.
And I think once he's healthy and he's getting full usage with Henry out, Mike Williams could be a beast this year.
So now we'll go to the Detroit side.
I guess.
Yeah, we'll go to the Detroit side. Matt Stafford, 22 of 30 for 245 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions.
That's a vintage Stafford.
That's a Stafford line.
Yeah.
Kerryon Johnson, finally showing what he can do, but we'll go in the little concerning part once I go over his stat line.
Not getting the carries.
12 carries for 41 yards, which here they used everybody.
Yeah.
You had Ty Johnson involved.
5 carries, yeah.
Yeah, you had C.J. Anderson involved, 5 carries.
The good news, though, John, if you compare it to last week, Kerryon out carried.
Yes.
Kerryon out carried everybody else, where Anderson was only just a few carries behind him.
Yep. So Kerryon, though, on the receiving side, though, had 3 targets, 2 catches for 47 yards and a TD, which did help him. So
that salvaged his week, but I'm a little nervous about the carries. 12 carries for your workhorse back.
16 fantasy points in PPR, so not too bad.
I think, again, we go back to he's going to be hindered by his dumb head coach.
Yep.
Simple as that.
But I will say this, on the receiving side, you know who had a good day? 10 targets.
Go another day.
For 8 receptions for 117 yards and a TD.
I'm not doing a lot of music
And
on this
yeah,
episode, folks.
But I can tell you,
the weather.
when he scored yesterday when I was at work and I saw it, I was singing Galladay to myself, and somebody's just like looking at me weird, and I was singing Galladay.
Yeah.
Mark,
we are the working class podcast,
Yes.
John. We don't get every Sunday off like all the mailmen do.
I wish I got every Sunday off.
Yeah.
Other than that, receiving side was you had Marvin Jones for 6 targets.
If you guys are listeners and you're mailmen, I mean no offense to you, by the way.
6 targets for 5 receptions for 43 yards. So I feel like he came.
Marvatron is like short. You remember that movie Short Circuit? Like he's not Marvatron anymore. We jokingly called him Marvatron when Megatron retired and he went there. He's like, well, it'll just be Marvatron. He's more like Short Circuit, like that movie from the 80s.
Oh, Johnny Five?
Five
Alive.
Yeah, he might pop every 3rd or 4th week or so, but you can't count on this guy every week. And we started him 2 weeks in a row in our tag team league, very deep 16-team league, and we got lucky to squeak out a couple of wins. No thanks to him.
Yeah. So, you know who didn't show up this week? 2 people on this team. Denny, I put up a 0, Amendola. He had 1 target. He had nothing. When I mean nothing, no catches, no yards, no nothing. Yeah. 0 average, 0.
You ever seen an armadillo? And they just like go across the road really slow. I think he was more like an armadillo than an Amendola. And T.J. Hawkinson, or Hulkinson, as we were calling him in week 1, he's not the Hulk anymore.
Nope. I think Detroit proved this wrong. Proved this right here, and they used their tight end like they should.
He's a tight end.
3 targets,
yeah.
1 catch for 7 yards. He killed people's fantasy lineups. Yeah. He actually killed me in Dynasty because I took a chance. I was like, why not?
You started him?
Well, I wasn't sure on Mike Williams. That's why, and I should have started Mike
Williams. Is a receiver.
It was flex.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You had to start a tight end in your flex in that league?
I had Zach Ertz. I started him, and then I wanted to start Hawkinson. I have a lot of injuries on my Dynasty team.
Okay. All right, man. I'm not here to judge.
No, I lost what? Big Ben, Foles. Who else did I lose? Darnold on that Dynasty team.
None of those are tight ends or wide receivers.
No, but I'm using examples of how many people are out on my team.
Right, let's move on from your crappy Dynasty team. So T.J. Hawkinson did what most tight ends do. They pop 1 week, and the next week they don't do anything. See Delaney Walker. You know what I mean? There's a lot of examples of that, and even George Kittle on the other side of that kind of burned us a little bit this week. So not a surprise there. I wouldn't lose. Don't set your hair on fire over this one because he could be Hulkinson next week. But again, like I texted John, this is Matt Stafford, and he's not going to support a ton of studs every week. You're going to see 1 or 2 guys pop, and hopefully it's the guy you have in your lineup. Any waiver wire stashes or pickups here, John? I don't really think
I don't think so, unless you want to take a chance on Amendola.
I would say Justin Jackson. I think he's a 5% of your fab budget type of guy. If you can go get him, stash him on your bench, I think you would be wise to do that. Dude.
I had it muted. How did it unmute? I didn't even press the button.
Jeez, man. You're
how is yours not coming up?
Because I'm not a knucklehead. I can control my computer. Anyway.
Okay, we'll go into the Green Bay, Minnesota game.
Can you get that under control?
I paused it, so I don't know.
Bush League.
Green Bay, Minnesota game. Minnesota lost.
Yeah.
16-21. Green Bay won this one. Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 34 for 209 yards, 2 TDs. Not too bad of a game for Rodgers, but not what we expect. But Aaron Jones was lights out yesterday.
Yeah, he was awesome. He looked like the Aaron Jones that everybody thought they had drafted as opposed to week 1. And now, is Minnesota's run D just shaky? Should we be worried about Minnesota's run D? Because they're definitely not shutting down passing games, but, Devontae Adams 7 for 106, no touchdowns. Geronimo Allison, he showed up this week, 4 for 25 with a touch, but not huge numbers. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 3 for 19. They definitely kept him in check in terms of the passing game, but Aaron Jones ran all over these guys. He also tacked on 4 catches for 34 yards, along with his 23 carries for 116 yards and a touchdown. Great week. 6 targets in the passing game, which is great for a running back. just a great game overall. 5 yards a carry. Aaron Jones looked like the guy that everybody thought they drafted.
And Williams here, I mean, even in garbage time, actually got a TD. He actually didn't look that bad either.
And we have Jamal Williams in our tag team league, our deep 16 team league, with only 5 bench spots. And he's a good stash. If you don't own him on your team and you have a decent sized bench, I would definitely look at him. You only have to spend probably $1 or $2 on him. But Aaron Jones is the guy of the day. Aaron Rodgers was not the old Aaron Rodgers. Once again, he threw 2 touchdowns, which salvaged his day, but 22 for 34 with 209 yards and 39.9%, 39.9 QBR. Just not good, but a tough matchup.
On the other side of the ball, the Vikings look like they're in trouble offensively. I don't know if it's...
Who did Minnesota play week 1, John? I can't remember.
Oh, I told you yesterday, too.
The Falcons.
The Falcons.
Okay.
And
they didn't have a big day on the ground, so
they were up 21-0.
Yeah,
so,
true. Yeah.
The shining star of this team right now is Dalvin Cook. He had another monster game. He had 20 carries for 154 yards and a TD. He did break off a 75-yard touchdown, so I know that pads the stat line, but it doesn't matter. The stats counts. He also had 3 targets, 3 receptions for 37 yards, so he had another solid outing. Cousins, on the other hand.
And that was after Green Bay shut down Chicago's run game.
Yeah, I think Green Bay's...
And then Dalvin Cook was just like, hold my beer.
Yeah, Green Bay, though, I want to say passing-wise are doing a lot better. I don't know about rushing-wise, but Cousins, 14 of 32, 230 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions, so he did not look good. Thielen...
And who does Minnesota match up with next week? Does anybody know? Everybody's looking at me with a blank
I can
stare.
look it up.
Because I'm afraid for Diggs and Thielen officially. I don't know if you are or not.
I'm on scare. I'm watching it. Cousins may turn into a possibly a streamer at this point. I was big on him, but I could be wrong. I mean, maybe he's just having a rough week. I mean, I could be wrong, but they play the Raiders next week.
Yeah, we are talking about Cousins.
And Raiders just got chewed up and spit out by the Chiefs, so it is possible Cousins could...
This is what I have to say to Kirk Cousins. You hear what they're saying?
It's the Kurt Angle, you suck.
Yes. Kirk Cousins, you suck. You are not good at throwing the football to receivers and generating yardage and touchdowns. You're not good at that. You suck.
Let's be honest. I mean, Kirk Cousins, even when he played in Washington, had a couple bad games. So let's just hope he's getting it all out of his system and lights it up after this. So,
I mean,
wait and see. I mean, Thielen had...
And honestly, Diggs, 7 targets. And again, I don't know how many of those are catchable targets, but 7 targets. He should have got 2 touchdowns. One was called back on a terrible call. And then he also got his other touchdown, which was a legit touchdown, was one catch for 49-yard touchdown. So, obviously, Diggs is still the big play guy. Thielen, 5 for 75 on 8 targets. So, they started to get targeted, but not much production out of it, which really speaks to the quarterback. It really does. He needs to get his act together. But at the same in this week, he threw the ball 32 times.
Yeah.
So, it's not like he wasn't throwing the ball. Like in week 1, he just only threw the ball 10 times. So...
Well, maybe the Raiders is the matchup he needs because Raiders secondary is...
Maybe it is. And the other side of that too, John, is when you let your quarterback only throw the ball 10 times in week 1, it doesn't really get him in the groove.
No.
So hopefully that's the case and he just needs to get going. They did not win this game. So their run-only offensive strategy might not work as well as they thought it would. And they're going to have to mix it with, like you said before, the run sets up the pass, but sometimes the pass sets up the run too. And all these guys have to do soon is stack the box on Dalvin Cook, and it's going to be trouble for Minnesota, and they're going to be playing from behind an awful lot. So they better rethink that offense because they won week 1, but week 2, nope, didn't work. And I don't think it's going to work most weeks.
So wait and see. I hope the "you suck" chant goes away, and hopefully this week he redeems himself.
It will be back next week if he can't get it done against Oakland.
He might be cut next week by me. So hope I'm not wrong about that one. So next game, what is it?
I just wanted to remind Kirk Cousins that he sucks. Sorry about that. So next up on the docket, John, if the internet would work with me here, is the Colts and the Titans. About as boring as it gets.
Divisional rivalry.
Divisional rivalry with two bad offenses. Jacoby Brissett is not the next Hall of Famer. 17 for 28, 146 yards. 3 touchdowns. His touchdowns are saving and salvaging his fantasy weeks. 1 interception, which isn't bad. And on the other side, equally awful, Marcus Mariota, 19 for 28, 154, and a touchdown. These guys are almost mirror images of each other to me. They're just not very good quarterbacks. But
Mariota played like Mariota this week.
yeah, he did. What about Jordan Wilkins busting out 5 for 82?
Yeah,
John?
he did that 155-yard run, so it
Yeah.
kind of blew up his stats a little bit. But
then you
he's
look at
still,
Mac.
But he's still, if you even take that 55-yard that he got, he's still averaging almost 7 yards a carry. So Wilkins actually looked good.
I got a sneeze coming. I can feel it. Yeah, he looked good. Marlon Mack did not. 20 carries for 51 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. Last week was the return of the Mac, and nobody can see him this week. He's gone.
I mean, what do you average, like 2.5 yards a carry?
Yeah, it was 2.6. And then T.Y. Hilton, 4 for 43 and a touchdown. Pretty solid day.
The touchdown saved his day, I think.
Ebron had a touchdown save his day as well. The offense just didn't look good, man. Just didn't look good in Indianapolis, which is what I predicted. Everybody said this. No, he'll be fine.
Paris Campbell is someone to keep an eye on. I'm not saying he had 1 target for 1 catch for 12 yards, but a TD. That's something just to keep an eye on. I don't know if he still keeps. You know what I'm saying? When I say like use like 1%.
So I'm confused by something.
Go ahead.
The box score says Jacoby Brissett had 3 touchdowns, but they only scored 19 points. The math doesn't add up on that.
Vinatieri, I think, missed kicks.
Oh, Adam Vinatieri.
He's actually.
Oh, that's right. So I segue that. There's talks that he might retire.
He is going to play week 3. After that, this could be his last and final one.
It's
He's
probably
what,
time.
46 now?
And this is also why you don't have kickers in your fantasy leagues. Just get rid of them, guys. They're not worthy of a spot on your roster. They don't make that big of a difference. And you get guys like Vinatieri, who used to be automatic, and now he's done. He's done. So what about on the Tennessee side of the ball, John? Delaney Walker, once again, kind of disappointed. Not once again, but he disappointed after a big week last week. Corey Davis was out there.
But still nothing.
But 3 for 38, so a little bit, at least there's signs of life. A.J. Brown came back down to earth, 3 for 25. This is why I just don't, when A.J. Brown's on the waiver wire, I like the guy. I'm glad he had a great week 1, but I just don't, Mariota's trash. And until somebody else is behind the center, I'm not owning anybody outside of maybe Derrick Henry, the guy that does a really good job when he's not on your team.
Yeah, as soon as I roster him, he'll go to, you know what?
15 for 81 and a touchdown. So
He actually had 3 targets, too. 2
He
catches
did,
for
2
12
for
yards.
12. Yeah,
so
so
this
good
guy
game.
could never catch a pass on my
I
team.
know.
I get rid of him. Now he starts running, he starts catching. It's like, it's
yeah.
mind-boggling for me.
Paris Campbell got a touchdown, but only on 1 target, 1 catch, 12 yards. Just avoid this.
This game was...
Avoid both these teams. Just avoid them.
Yes.
They're not fantasy relevant.
Okay, not unless somebody else starts.
Yeah.
What's the next game on tap?
So the next game on the docket is the Patriots and the Dolphins. There's not really much to talk about here. Sony Michel had a good game. 21 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. Rex Burkhead kind of came back down to earth. James White was not really involved in the running game, but he typically isn't. But he also wasn't all that involved in the passing game. But he did get a touchdown, I think. And I can just run through it. But Antonio Brown had a okay debut, 4 for 56 and a touchdown, but nothing mind blowing. Edelman 4 for 51. This is the 2 for 19 for Gordon. This is the new New England Patriots. So if you're a Patriots fan, it's a great situation. If you own Patriots players on your fantasy team, maybe not so much, because there's so much talent on that offense, and even Tom Brady can't make them all productive. It's just, and look at Edelman. Under 10 points in PPR for Julian Edelman.
Yep.
So it's great, but I fear that if you have players on New England, and we do on our shared team, we have Sony Michel. It's whack-a-mole. You don't know who's going to pop week to week. And it used to be with running backs, but now it's with receivers.
Yeah, this week I was actually confident because I knew most of us knew it was. I don't even remember what they were favored by, 19 yards or something like that, 18 and a half. When I kind of heard that, I was more confident in Michelle because I'm like, if the game gets blown out, they're going to give Michelle the ball. The one thing I did like, I believe
Brady hit 7 different receivers.
Yep. The one thing I did like was first quarter. I was at break. I was actually watching the first drive. They tried to give it to Devlin, but he got stuffed. I was laughing inside. Then they gave it to Michelle. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for giving it to Michelle.
But even Brady didn't blow up. He had 264 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was 20 for 28, so he was pretty efficient in terms of his pass ratio, but not a huge game. They had a great defensive game. If you guys are in a league that have special teams defense, which I also would not advise, I mean, you got some huge points out of New England, but from an offensive standpoint, if you actually break down the numbers, I would have expected a lot more against a Miami team that quit before the season even started. So we saw some Josh Rosen, 7 for 18 for 97 and an interception.
And Fitz magic is Fitz done.
He was worse. 11 for 21, 89 yards, 3 interceptions. So they've managed to get themselves 2 bad quarterbacks and give up draft picks for one of them. And then running game, Kenyon Drake is just, I'm beginning to think
you don't like the Drake.
Good. I don't love the Drake.
I don't like the Drake here either.
And I wish I had the drop right now, but I'm too tired,
Drake,
and too worn out. But anyway, Mark Walton, isn't that the guy from the Funky Bunch? No, is that Mark? No, that's Wahlberg.
That's Mark Wahlberg.
Sorry. But anyway, he was almost as good as Drake.
I don't even know. There's one thing.
Balaj managed 1.5 yards per carry.
You know how you pronounce his name? Because he's so bad. I thought it was actually going to be good. Yeah. Kalen Balaj.
Blah.
Yeah, blah. He's bad.
He caught the ball once. So it's just a bad. You want to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different receivers caught balls in Miami, and they did nothing with it. 10 guys were
Devontae
trash.
Parker, who's supposed to be their number one.
There's 7
targets, 0 reception. There's one shining star on this team.
One beacon of hope on this team, and I liked what I saw from an efficiency standpoint week 1. He is somebody you should target on the waiver wire. Again, this isn't a big waiver week, I don't think, John, until we get to Kansas City, but again, I'm looking at 10% on this guy. Preston Williams targeted 6 times, 4 for 63, and he looks the part. He looks like he's the real deal. So I do like Preston Williams as a sneaky waiver wire ad, but that's it. This is an embarrassment. The league needs to investigate the Miami.
Well, there's
offense.
also talks of Drake possibly being traded too, so keep an eye on that.
I did see that.
Yeah, there's talks. It's nothing solidified.
But and it's hard to beat these teams down when literally their best player they traded away, and now their offensive line is even worse than it was already the worst in the league, and now it's even worse than that. It's just a joke, dude. What isn't a joke is the Bills. I think they're an okay team, and they're on the rise, and they took on a team that is not on the rise. They're on the descent, and that's the New York Giants. So, John, if you look at the quarterbacks, Josh Allen, 19 for 30 with 253 yards and a touchdown, and he also got a touchdown on the ground, 7 carries for 21 yards and a touchdown.
That Konami code, like you said.
The Konami code, yep. So Josh Allen had a great day. Or really good day. I don't know, maybe not a great day, but a really good day. I expected a little bit more against the lowly Giants. And then you look at Eli, 26 for 45, 250 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He's just bad. So I can understand why they might want to go with Dan Jones.
Barkley.
Saquon just Saquoned. He's ridiculous. 18 for 107.
But you know what's disappointing this year?
What's that?
From Barkley, he got 7 targets at running back, but wasn't like last year. He got peppered so much last year out of the backfield for targets.
He only caught 3 of those 7.
Yeah, so for 28 yards. But I mean, they're not. I don't know if they're trying to just keep them all year, but they're not using them like they were last year, like ground and pound. It might be because they're hurting too. I mean, Ingram had an off.
Yeah, I don't think they want to kill the guy, man.
No, I get that too. But
if you're looking at it, getting well over 20 touches, 20 to 25 touches. So it's not like he's not getting the usage. Also getting usage is Evan Ingram, 8 targets, 6 for 48. Good to see there. Benny Fowler, John, you were touting Cody Latimer.
Well, Latimer would have been fine if he didn't get a concussion.
Yeah, well, he
got concussed. Nothing I can do about that.
And then Benny Fowler was like, hold my beer. He's like, I'll handle this. And he had 5 for 51, a respectable stat line.
So I probably would have been right on Latimer if he didn't get the concussion, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. We'll wait and see. But the Giants this week, life might actually get a little easy. I could be wrong on this matchup, but it's Giants versus Buccaneers this week.
Oh, what a bad game that'll be. Tell me it's not on Thursday night.
No, it's a Sunday 4:05 game.
I'm beginning to, and we'll talk about this in start-sit later on in the week, but I'm beginning to say if somebody's playing Thursday night, you might want to fade them. But
Thursday night games have been awful.
Yeah,
Same with
terrible.
Sunday night games, too, I think. They have not been living up to the hype.
Watch, this week it'll be a blowout.
You want to know who the Thursday night game is this week?
Who is it? Tell me
Titans,
more.
Jags.
Titans, Jags, huh? So I'll have to decide early if I'm starting Leonard Fournette against the
What about
Titans
Gunter?
D.
Good old
Gunter.
Gunter.
We'll talk about Gunter. So Buffalo, let's slide over there. We kind of touched on it, but Frank Gore, 19 for 68 with a paltry 3.6 yards per carry. Did get a touchdown, though. Devin Singletary's just better than him. 6 for 57, 9.5 yards per carry, and also a touchdown. But he is banged up, as we stated earlier. And then, of course, Josh Allen on the ground, 7 for 21 and a touchdown. Through the air, Beasley, 4 for 83. So he kind of showed up this week where we were a little concerned week one. John Brown, once again, 7 for 72. A nice game for him.
All right, that's 2 weeks in a row. John Brown has had good weeks. He is clearly from what I've seen the last 2 weeks, he is their number one wide receiver.
He's the only ownable receiver on that team.
Yes.
And if somehow he's on your waiver wire, and he might be, if somehow he is, I'd 15 to 20%.
Yeah,
He's
from what I've seen from both games, he is their number one. Just like this week, I also keep an eye on the Singletary news because Gore, if you're hurting that back, might not be bad for like a 5% down on a Gore depending on how you're hurting with your situation at running back. But Gore would be a decent.
Yeah, pick him up. If he's on your wire, he shouldn't be.
Especially if you're a Singletary owner. If you're a Singletary owner that doesn't have him, shame on you.
Yeah, definitely.
And then other than that, it wasn't really nothing. Beasley was the next biggest, I would say.
Yeah, under the next disappointment. Well, it wasn't really disappointment. It was disappointing in terms of Ben getting hurt. But Seattle against Pittsburgh. Seattle won 28-26. Rashad Penny, 10 carries for 62 yards, which is 6.2 yards a carry, and a touchdown. Chris Carson, 15 for 60 for 4 yards a carry. He was under 4 yesterday, so there might have been a stat correction there. But not a great game for him. Penny broke a 37-yard run. He looked really good. In terms of passing, he only caught one pass for 3 yards. Chris Carson was 3 for 27. So, again, like I said, both those guys are startable, and I think Rashad Penny's the better back. I really do, John. I still stand by that. Are you leaning in my direction at all?
It's hard to with 2 games. If once we get another game, I think we can assess. I'm not.
But their carries are almost even now.
No, they're even. Carson is getting more targets though as it relates to passing. He did get more targets. The other part of it though, this game was just weird.
Cotton candy energy drink? Seriously?
Yeah, it's good.
Anyway.
That was out of nowhere.
Yeah, sorry.
Russell Wilson though, 29 of 35 for 300 yards, 3 TDs. He had a great game. But it was just weird.
Yeah.
So week 1, you have Lockett not even involved.
He's just not running the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 6 carries for 22. I'm just going to Wilson real quick. But
Lockett wasn't even involved like week 1 at all. I think he had one bomb for 44 yards
have one
TD.
catch.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
and
a
then this
touchdown.
week, boom, 12
10 for
targets,
79.
10 receptions, 79 yards. I don't bless
it
you.
is.
I don't expect that to continue. Bless you again. I don't see.
I told you guys I was sick.
I think
wasn't lying.
his safe target level for Lockett should be about between 6 to 8. 12 is a little high, but it's also dependent on the team they're playing. Metcalf had 7 targets, 3 for 61 yards and a TD. I think this kid is.
But yeah, you look at Tyler Lockett's efficiency, 7.9 yards a catch, and Lockett's supposed to be this deep threat burner. Those numbers are not indicative of a guy that is that style of player. DK, however, 20.3 yards per catch. That's an immense number. 7 targets, so
I doubt
Wilson's committed to him.
I doubt he's on the waiver wire. If he
I
is,
don't think he is.
If he is, I would probably say put 15% down.
At least. If he's on your waiver wire, go get him. Just outbid everybody.
He shouldn't be there. But a guy to keep on, if you're hurting with all these tight end injuries, Disley actually had 5 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards, 2 TDs. I wouldn't expect that every week.
Back. Yeah.
But I would safe to say 3 to 5 receptions. He might get you a floor of 10, but someone to bid like, I would say 5 or less % on if you're hurting that tight end. But the way the tight ends are going now lately might not be a bad idea. On the Pittsburgh side of the ball,
everybody's hair's on fire in Pittsburgh because Ben went down, but
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph was respectable.
but Ben, we won't even go on the Ben stat line. He's done for the season. Wish you the best.
Yep.
Mason Rudolph, 12 for 19, 112 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. He actually didn't look too bad. He actually also had 1 carry for 7 yards, but we're not expecting him to run.
Yeah, no, not really that style player.
But not too bad of a game.
Vance McDonald got targeted heavily by Rudolph.
I am concerned with the rushing, but I know Connor did get hurt, but he had 11 carries for 33 yards and a TD.
So the guy that we draft that we think is the safe guy, like we just can't win in the first round in that league.
He's not safe. On the other side of it, I would see if you're Connor, depending on the news that comes out, Samuels would probably be the guy you want to lock.
Samuels is the guy, I think.
Yeah, 3 carries for 18 yards, 1 catch for 13 yards. But I assume he will be, unless for some reason Snell Jr. becomes. I think he's more the backup.
I think it's Jalen Samuels. Benny Snell might get mixed in here.
Wait, can I do it?
You can, but I have a cold. Juju Smith-Schuster, 5 for 84. Another solid day for him. Nothing too crazy. I think you're going to see that he'll be fine. And like I said before, I think wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 1 upside from Juju. I don't think you're going to see a huge drop-off. I do think you're going to see an increase for James Washington, John.
Yes, and I think Noah, I don't know if it was Noah or me, one of us called Vance McDonald. He actually had a good week. I don't expect this every week.
You don't remember if you made the call? So it must have been Noah.
I can't remember. One of us said McDonald. I thought it was me, but I think it was him.
Yeah, 7 for 38, a little 5.4 yards per catch isn't great, but he did get 2 touchdowns, both from Rudolph, so that's encouraging. And then, I think that's pretty much it for those guys. But Washington really played well with Rudolph in the preseason, and I think you'll see. I would definitely look for James Washington on the waiver wire this week. Another 5-10% guy, probably more on the 5%.
Yeah, and I think it's if you're a Moncrief owner, you dump him.
Yeah, if you're a Moncrief owner, dump yourself. Why would you even draft that guy?
Well, what did we say? Ever since we've been doing these podcasts, we were not Moncrief believers. We still aren't.
He's not even a has-been. He's a never was.
No, exactly. So let's move on to the next game.
How about them Cowboys? Cowboys gets the Redskins.
I got to hand it to Kellen Moore. He is like an offensive genius this year. These guys look good. This was a divisional rivalry, obviously. I mean, Redskins moved to 0-2, but the Cowboys moved to 2-0. But Dak Prescott, once again, looked amazing. 26 of 30, 269 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception, and then 5 carries for 69 yards.
Yeah.
This guy is pimping.
Yeah, he's good, man. And I think he's got a full complement of weapons, too, John. His offensive line's healthy. Zeke's out there. Amari Cooper's out there. He's got Jason Witten back. So I think it definitely helps that they're finally not banged up right now. I mean, that's been a big problem. Yeah. And it also helps that Jason Garrett realized he's really bad at being offensive coordinator and handed the clipboard over to Kellen Moore. And now I think we need to be mindful that they played the Redskins this week, and they're not that good of a team. And
they're not horrible
last
either
week
defensively.
They played the Giants.
They're not horrible.
No, they're not the Giants. They're not as bad as the Giants, but they're still not great. And Case Keenum's the quarterback on the other side of the ball. But yeah, no, if you're starting your Cowboys every week, and you're starting them again this week against the Bengals, should be a big game. Might want to look at Randall Cobb on the waiver wire. Given that Gallup's out for a few weeks, he might be a good spot start for you once bye weeks come in. He had a really good week 1. Not so much this week, but he does have value.
My sleeper pick, and I think you can get him with no fab money. You could bid a couple dollars, play it safe, but
What team?
Cowboys.
Cowboys, okay.
Devin Smith. Remember that name.
Okay. I'm like
He will do. Devin Smith was really good at Ohio State. He is a rookie, but this kid is talented. He had three targets.
Remember the name.
3 receptions, 74 yards, TD.
You know whose name you can forget, John?
Gallup.
Adrian Peterson.
Oh, okay, Adrian Peterson.
He got a touchdown. So I guess if you started him, you're okay. But 2.5 yards per carry is just an embarrassment.
He didn't get 10 points, did he? Oh, he did. He did because he got the targets.
Exactly.
The 2 targets to get him over.
He did in PPR. He had 2 catches for a lousy 7 yards.
You called it on Chris Thompson, though. He got the 5 receptions for 48 yards. Did not get the rushing yards, though. But, I mean, it's a...
Check down Keenum, man.
Yep.
You're good to start Chris Thompson every week if he's healthy. And McLovin followed up week 1 with another solid week 2 with 5 for 62 and a touchdown.
And I don't.
Yes, we know his name is McLaurin. Yes, we will continue to call him
McLovin. The one thing I can't understand is everybody was hyping up Vernon Davis last week, and they're like, "Oh, Dallas ain't great against linebackers." Maybe the old Dallas wasn't because.
You mean tight ends?
Tight ends. Sorry, I apologize.
They have a great linebacking core on that team.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody touted Vernon Davis this week. He's what, 35 or 36-year-old playing a tight end still.
Dude, they have Smith, they have Van Der Esch, they have Lee.
Yeah, that's why I didn't understand this one, but Vernon Davis disappointed. 3 catches for 29 yards. It's not something you want from your tight end. But yeah, this game for the Redskins, they look okay. But I can tell you, if McLovin is still available, please pick him up.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Easily 15% on him, if not 20. He's obviously their number 1 target there. And then Trey Quinn is someone to keep an eye on. He had 7 targets again.
Yep.
The numbers don't show it so much, but he was targeted 7 times. So maybe put like 5% down on him and keep an eye on him.
Yeah. I think you might even be able to get him for $1 or 2, to be honest with you.
Well, depending on what league you're in.
Yeah. So let's move on to Arizona and Baltimore. Baltimore won the game 23-17, so not a high-scoring affair, but Lamar Jackson went off again.
Thank you, Lamar.
272 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 16 carries for 120. That was the Lamar Jackson we saw last year.
Captain Konami.
Yeah, that was the Lamar we saw last year, and that's where his upside lies. Unbelievable on the ground for a quarterback to get 16 carries. How many running backs have we gone through that didn't even get that? Justice Hill only got 1 on the same team. He got more carries than Mark Ingram. That's why Lamar Jackson brings a Konami code. He's almost a must-start every week just because of that. I mean, if you have Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson like one of the guys in our league does, how do you start Aaron Rodgers over Lamar Jackson at this point?
At this point, you play Lamar, you bench Rodgers, or you try to sell him.
Yeah, trade him.
Yeah.
So receiving, I was right again, John. Mark Andrews, 8 receptions, 112 yards, and a touchdown. Pretty much exactly what he did last week. I said that he would be the number 1 target for Lamar Jackson, and it looks like that's going to be correct. However, Marquise Brown might have something to say about that with 8 receptions for 86 yards.
And he was targeted 13 times.
So those guys are the centerpiece of that offense, along with Lamar Jackson and the collective running game. I mean, you look at Ingram, 13 for 47, 3.6 yards per carry. When is it going to be time for the Justice League?
What concerns me here is Ingram went down. I don't know the extent of his injury yet. They haven't really said much, but for some reason, Gus Bus is still involved.
I know.
So maybe it's a matter of time before Hill starts, but it looks like Hill's almost more being used out of the backfield as a passing back more than
but even then you're not seeing much. I think this is vintage Baltimore. The running back that starts the season as their starter is never the same guy that ends it. Justice Hill will get his, but you have to be patient with him. So if somebody cuts him, go get him. If somebody's dumb enough to cut Justice Hill, go get him and get him fast.
Yeah.
What about Arizona, John?
On the Arizona side of the ball, Murray was 25 of 40 for 349 yards.
Good game.
Yeah.
No touchdown.
0 TDs, 0 interceptions. But remember, guys, this is the Baltimore Ravens. It's not a bad stat line.
No.
It really isn't for a rookie.
Anytime you throw 350 yards.
And he threw no picks.
Yep.
So against a solid defense. So, yeah, the no touchdowns is disappointing. But straight points from passing, what did he get? 13.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And they said they figured it out at the end of the week, at the end of the game in week 1. And, again, you said really tough defense, so not a huge game for anybody. Obviously, David Johnson.
But to shred the Ravens secondary for 349 yards is impressive. But wait till this kid plays a team that's not good in the secondary. He actually might have a great game.
I'm not ready to say he shredded them, but he
but
did fine.
yeah.
He was fine. And Christian Kirk, 6 for 114. It was good to see that. And then Fitzgerald, 5 for 104.
And David Johnson missed a good chunk of this game with his injury. What saved him was his touchdown because he was 7 of 14 for carries. I mean, he missed, I think, at least a quarter and a half, I think it was.
Yeah. And then you see, like, Keyshawn went from 10 targets week 1 to 1 in week 2.
And then you got Bird.
Demary Bird? Where did this guy come
from?
They have, like, 500 receivers.
Yeah, so here, like...
6 for 45, so not that great, but... that's my daughter. You guys hear my daughter screaming? She must be terrorizing somebody. But yeah, Arizona's going to continue to get terrorized every week.
But they're still playing. The thing that impresses me is they're still playing at a very fast pace.
Yeah, David Johnson, if you had him, you got a touchdown out of him. But
that's what saved him for me.
That was ugly.
I mean, him getting hurt, that was what concerned me. I'm just glad it's a long-term injury, or at least I hope it isn't. So
waiver wire, I say definitely you can look at I don't think Kirk's out there.
Murray may be available in some leagues.
Murray might. I don't think Andrews is, but if
I doubt he is.
A lot of these. Justice Hill, I would say, and is a really, really, really deep sleeper. And I know he hasn't caught a pass yet this season. But Andy Isabella, especially if you're in Dynasty, I think you're going to see him rise as the season goes on. But not anybody you need to chase right now, but keep his name.
More a Dynasty thing.
Yeah. He's very talented, and I think once Larry retires, you're going to see him do a lot of damage on the outside.
Larry looks like he found the fountain of youth. He's still going.
He might never retire. So let's move on to the Jaguars and the Texans. We'll start picking up the pace here. Deshaun Watson had a terrible game.
You say terrible, but this is...
Dude, he threw 16 for 29 for 159
No,
yards.
I'm not saying this, but this is a divisional rivalry.
He got sacked 4 times, which isn't good for him.
Well, their offensive line is terrible. We said that at the beginning.
They just got Tunsil, though, who's... You know what I mean? He's a left tackle. He's supposed to protect the quarterback. Was he out to lunch today?
He got hurt, I believe. I believe he twisted
did he? Okay.
some with his ankle. I know that.
Well, that's great for them.
We trade for him, and here's his ankle.
And then Gunter Minshew, and yes, we know his name is Gardner, and yes, we're going to continue to call him Gunter because it sounds cool, and he just looks like a Gunter. Did you see him with the
all pimped out in the 70s? Yep.
Yeah, dude, that guy's awesome.
He looks like Dirk Diggler.
Yeah, a little bit. So Gunter Minshew, 213 yards, 23 attempts for 23 out of 33 attempts, and a touchdown. Didn't have a horrible game.
No, Minshew. And
he had 6 for 56.
Exactly. He actually looks okay because that rushing. He's got the slightly Konami code.
Yeah, he's got like the I don't know.
The Dirk. We'll call him Dirk. Now. Dirk Minshew.
But no, it's Gunter.
I know.
Leonard Fournette, are you nervous yet?
Not just yet.
And I didn't mean to rhyme there, but it was.
I don't think so.
Out pretty good.
I know you are. I'm not.
I didn't say I'm nervous yet. I'm not nervous yet, but I'm getting there. It's getting, and I own him, so maybe I have a different take on it, but 15 carries is not what you would expect from a guy that the offense is supposed to be centered around.
But you're also facing...
And they were not getting blown out in this game either, John. So this is the game script that you should see Fournette really excel in. And I get it. He got targeted 6 times, 4 for 40, which is great. But the 15 carries concerns me with the game script that they had and the way that game played out. A low-scoring game, you should see a guy like Fournette really get a lot of use.
Yeah, like 20. But I think that's more if they're in the lead. I'm not saying this was... They weren't like really playing behind. Well, they were a little bit. I mean, it was 6-3 at halftime. But I mean, that's the thing. They kind of abandoned the run. They should. But the bright side of this is his targets are up from last year.
They are, yep.
And I think if that continues,
see it put all together. But
yeah,
I'm not nervous yet, but I'm getting there.
If I'd be nervous, I'd be a Duke Johnson owner at this point.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I was thinking about this on the ride here. Carlos Hyde, by the way, 20 carries for 90 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. So a decent game from him. Nothing on the ground, I don't think. So if you're in standard, it's okay. PPR didn't really do much for you. But I'm beginning to wonder if Duke Johnson just isn't a good player. Like, teams just don't want to invest in him as a workhorse back, and I don't get it because he seems like, and again, 5.2 yards per carry. Unlike Carlos Hyde, who wasn't bad. 4.5 is not bad.
Yeah.
But Johnson can catch, which he didn't. He had one target and he didn't catch it. So he's the pass catching back that only gets one target in a game that, again, this game script should be tailored toward a guy like Johnson. Maybe there's something about him we don't know, because every team, the Browns and now the Texans, just don't want to give him the opportunity. He hasn't had the opportunity. I don't understand it. But yeah, thank you, Aaron, for starting him against me somehow. For some
Nuke
reason.
Johnson for this week.
Yeah, appreciate you. So, and even Watson didn't look good on the ground. 4 attempts for 5 yards, but he did get sacked a lot, so that kind of hinders that. Will Fuller 4 for 40, Hopkins 5 for 40. Just not a good game for Houston. In Jacksonville's defense, and again, I know they've faced the undeniable Kavorka of Mahomes week 1, but they didn't look great week 1, and they just shut down Houston. Shut them down. What's your takeaway from this? Like, are you nervous about Houston now, or is it just a bad week? I'd like to think it's just a bad week.
I think it's a bad week, but I'm also concerned with that offensive line, because now you're starting to see the amount of times Watson was sacked. Jacksonville is still I would still say a top 5D. Jalen Ramsey, of course.
Unless they're playing Matt.
Jalen Ramsey even came out and said that Hopkins is one of the best receivers in the game, yet he pretty much held him in check. 8 targets, 5 receptions, 40 yards. And this was a game the Jaguars didn't have A.J. Bouye playing the other corner. He was out.
Yeah.
So
and Ramsey does not look himself.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They're out.
He didn't week 1.
They're out with their other corner, the other top corner. Watson should have feasted here, but I think the offensive line is just that much in trouble that till they get that piece worked out or meshed together.
They look great week 1.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's just a bad week. I mean, I wouldn't expect that from Watson and the gang, especially Hopkins again, but they might have that type of game a couple, 3 times.
And they were at home too. That's what the concerning part was.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
So Kansas City, Oakland. Kansas City just dominated and won 28-0. Mahomes had a huge first half. 443 yards, 4 touchdowns. Sad to say that that's the norm for Pat Mahomes, but it is.
Patrick Mahomes, this game was over at the half. He had 221 yards in the second quarter. In the second quarter, I'm not saying total, he threw for 221 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
The undeniable Kavorka of Pat Mahomes might make him the best of all time. Like, when it's all said and done, obviously we can't make that assessment now, but what we see from this guy is unheard of. Unheard of. And McCoy, he got hurt. 11 for 23, 2.1 yards per carry, so he's back to his old 2018 form. Damian Williams, 9 for 8. Not a lot on the ground for these guys, but through the air, who needs it when you got Demarcus Robinson, 6 for 172 and 2 touchdowns. Kelsey, 7 for 107 and a touchdown. And Mecole Hardman, 4 for 61 and a touchdown. And then, of course, Sammy Watkins got targeted 13 times, only 6 for 49.
Yeah,
so
this
disappointing there.
Thank
you also, Aaron, for starting him against me.
This Kansas City team is meshing without, Tyreek's out. I mean, they're hurting. They're hurting on the, the running back side of it because of McCoy getting hurt, David Williams getting hurt. And Mahomes I don't even know what to say. This guy is on pace for 50 again.
He's ridiculous.
Most times when you see 50 touchdowns, you think regression.
He's ridiculous.
Mahomes may do it. And that's like unheard of.
He makes it look easy, and these guys are wide open, John. So I don't know if it's because there's so much speed on that team, but I don't know, man.
Hardman we knew was going to be good. We did know that.
So let's talk real quick. Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman. Who are you targeting over the other, and what are you looking at fab-wise? Because these are the big pickups this week.
I don't think Robinson is going to be. I don't think he's the one to own. I think Hardman's the one to own, and I think Hardman. I think you put 20% down on him.
I think they're both rentals. I think you would agree with that. Because
Robinson's more a rental for me. Hardman's got the pure ability to do more because of his speed.
Yep.
And he can also run too. I have not seen Demarcus Robinson do a run. I know Robinson had a blow-up game, but how many times do you see the same receiver blow up 2 weeks in a row? Yeah. A.K.A. Watkins. He came back down to earth. Yes, he was target high, but he did come down to earth compared to what he was. You'll still see the volume. I doubt Watkins is available in your league.
So Darwin Thompson, if he's out there, I would put 5% on him. Demarcus Robinson, I would put 15 to 20 on both him and Hardman, knowing that you're not getting that every week from both those guys. No. And knowing that they might be fool's gold, but if you can invest in this offense, you have to. You have to.
You want bits and pieces. This could help you win a championship.
If you can get a piece of this offense, you have to do it. So, Oakland, Josh Jacobs, very disappointing. 12 carries for 99 yards. Actually, so his efficiency was great, but they just didn't give him enough carries.
They didn't even target him, which the week before they targeted him. And that's the thing. I know that.
But he got banged up too, so that's I think why you saw more of Washington and Richard.
He went out early. He actually went out earlier in this game than I think it was like the middle of the second quarter.
And he came back out.
He came back out and then went back out. So I mean, I think they're playing it safe. They know he's their.
Now we know he's got a groin injury.
He's their centerpiece. I think they're going to take it. They were trying to take it easy on him, and they knew they were done. So why beat your starting back down?
Yeah.
So they got Washington involved, Richard involved. But for some reason, if Jacobs misses any time and you are a Jacobs owner and you don't have any good backups, I would probably invest into Washington or Richard. I like Richard more in PPR personally.
Yeah.
But Washington's not bad either. I mean, which one do you go with? Richard's always had more value in the past.
I think it's Richard because he is more of a pass catcher, but they used Washington in that. They both caught 2 passes. So anyway, I just want to keep the train going here. Darren Waller had another good showing. He's starting to look legit.
Waller is a baller.
Yeah, and Carr likes his tight ends. So also Tyrell Williams had a good game. So if Tyrell Williams is out, Darren Waller is probably the biggest beneficiary of that, I think. And that's probably about it, man. Hunter Renfrow, I'm just not sold.
Not just yet. He's seeing the targets, but he's not seeing the, you know what I'm saying, the statistics yet.
Yeah, he's no Andy Isabella. Maybe they should trade to get Andy Isabella.
You never know.
All right, Bears, Broncos, another not great game.
Bears.
The Mitch Trubisky is trash.
Yeah, get this one. Mitch Trubisky goes backwards.
Yeah,
and
way back.
Cody Parkey was an awful kicker last year, and now their kicker Panero is like good.
What's his name?
Panero, right? Panero bread? No, I'm kidding.
I don't know.
It is. I think it's Panero.
Sneeze again.
So, bless you.
I'm sorry, guys. I really hope this goes away. David Montgomery, 18 for 62, so we saw them invest in him a lot more this week in terms of carries. Not the best efficiency, but he did get a touchdown. This is just not a good game for this team. Is Tariq Cohen? What are your thoughts on Tariq Cohen right now?
Honestly,
he did not get used much. He had 4 carries for 18 yards, 2 catches for 7.
Cohen looked good week 1. Week 2, it looks like he's taking a back seat.
I got to tell you, you know who scares me about Cohen is I hate to say Mike Davis, but week 1 they used Mike Davis a fair amount, not so much this week. He's definitely the number 2, but I think Montgomery's really
I think if
open that gap
if you're a Cohen owner, then you need to basically, if he's your starter, you're in trouble. Yeah. You're in deep trouble, I think.
Not a great game.
If he is on your roster and you have more depth, then you sit him on the bench till further notice, till you see more consistency out of him. Because week 1 showed one thing, week 2 shows another.
Anthony Miller had another dud. Allen Robinson didn't look good. Just not good.
The whole receiving side did not look good.
This doesn't even look like the same offense from last year. And then Denver, Royce Freeman, 11 for 54. Philip Lindsay, 13 for 36. So neither of those guys are ownable. They are, but
Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, Philip Lindsay, 2.8 yards per carry, by the way. Flacco had an okay game. Nothing that great. And yeah, Emmanuel Sanders, 11 for 98 and a touchdown.
You know what I do like about is Freeman's target out of the backfield, 5 catches for 48 yards.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on these clowns.
Move on.
Both these teams are scary from a fantasy standpoint. I think Chicago's got the ability to turn it around, but Denver, how do you really start anybody? So we got a couple more games to go, John. Saints Rams. This was a blowout. Breeze went out pretty early, so
middle of the second, I think, or early second.
Yeah, but oh god, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sniffling here. This
so,
probably sounds.
Go ahead, take care of yourself. Drew Brees was 3 of 5 for 38 yards and a pick, and then Bridgewater came in for relief for 17 completions on 30 attempts for 165 yards, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions, and he rushed twice for 5 yards. Boo. Nothing great. Nothing. Kamara, 13 of 45, rushing, no TDs, and he only had 3 targets. for 1 reception for 15 yards.
Who's that?
So,
Sorry. You lost
Kamara.
me. Kamara. Okay, yeah.
So
no.
Breeze, I think Breeze ultimately hurts Kamara.
I think Kamara will be fine. I'll buy him. I'll buy him low, that's for sure.
Buy him low.
And then I would buy Todd Gurley arguably low as well at this point. I mean, he didn't have the greatest game. He did get 16 carries.
Yeah, but I was going to say, he didn't get in
the
the volume, though, either.
Right.
Plus,
not Todd Gurley level volume.
Yeah.
No. But again, Malcolm Brown, the clear cut.
Michael Thomas still shows that he's still ownable. And, I mean, maybe Thomas owners get scared. This is not your time to buy him then. If they think that Breeze is going to ultimately affect Thomas, buy Thomas low because he still had 13
Thomas
targets.
was fine,
Yep. 10 receptions for 89 yards. That touchdown part could be scary. Cook had 7 targets but did nothing with him. Yeah. 2 receptions for 25 yards. Latavius, take me out to the dumpster.
I think
this
his
week.
Stock went down more than anybody here, other than maybe Cook. I think Thomas and Kamara are fine. Go get him.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on Taysom Hill. I think he may ultimately be the starter, in my opinion. But wait and see. I think he's got more talent than Bridgewater. But
all right, let's move on for my nose.
Okay, the Rams. Goff, 19 of 28 for 283 yards and a TD. Solid game from him. Not too bad. Gurley, 16 attempts for 63 yards and a TD. And he also got 4 targets for 3 receptions for 4 yards. Not the type of Gurley game we expected, but it was saved by the TD. But the volume's not there. As for other running backs, Malcolm Brown, if you haven't already got him off waiver wires, as a handcuff to Gurley, he had 6 carries for 37 yards. Not too bad. He also had 1 catch for 10 yards. So not too bad, but not great. Cooper Kupp was the shining star on receiving. He had 9 targets, 5 receptions for 120 yards. I thought he had a TD callback, but I could be wrong. Cooks had 3 receptions for 74 yards and a TD. And Mr. Robert Woods, thank you for your performance. You had 2 receptions for 33 yards.
We appreciate you. So, again, with LA, it's starting to look like an offense without the heavy workload of Gurley. It's starting to look like an offense where only 2 of those receivers are going to perform every week, John.
Yeah, it's a matter of picking which 2. That's the thing. Robert Woods is usually the man that's consistent. And this week, like I had said earlier, I still like Kupp as the one to shine. I think we had done that on, what I was trying to think was, we were talking players that we thought were going to break out. But he's the one I can see, honestly, that continue to do well. So last game.
I literally have like an uncontrollable flow out of my nose. I'm sorry that I'm probably grossing you guys out throughout this entire episode, my constant sniffling.
So last game is the Eagles at the Falcons last night. The Falcons won 24-20. We will go into the Eagles side first. Wentz was 25 of 43 for 231 yards, a TD and 2 interceptions. He also rushed 3 times for 3 yards for a TD. So those 2 TDs did save his day, but the 2 picks did hurt him. Sanders, 10 carries for 28 yards, 0 TDs, and he was targeted 4 times, 3 receptions for 9 yards. So
yeah, he didn't look good.
This backfield, it's Peterson. He's still using everybody. Howard was used, 8 attempts for 18 yards, no TDs. Clement was used. I mean, Sproles was used.
This is an ugly backfield to own anybody.
So receiving-wise, everybody got hurt except for Ertz and Aguilar. So I believe Whiteside played, I think it was all but 6 snaps, but he didn't benefit. He had 4 targets.
I watched this game, John. He didn't look good.
No.
He didn't look good at all.
He played most of the snaps, but just didn't get anything.
And they weren't uncatchable passes.
Yeah.
He just did not.
Aguilar had...
He didn't look the part, so to speak.
Aguilar had 11 targets, 8 receptions, 107 yards, a TD, so he looked good.
Fool's gold, though, man. I think Aguilar, if he is... if you are seeing Alshon out for an extended period of time, and Deshaun, he's a good guy to own, but once they come back, he's a non-factor again.
Ertz was targeted 16 times.
Only caught half of those, though.
Yeah, well, he was their only healthy tight end last night. 8 receptions for 72 yards. So a safe game for Ertz. 15.
He got rocked in that game, though.
Oh, he didn't have a choice.
This was a physical game, guys. A lot of guys got rocked in this game. A lot of guys went out for short periods of time or long periods of time. It was just a physical defense. It was a defensive game, and it was a fun game to watch, to be honest with you. Looking at the Atlanta side of the ball, Matt Ryan had a really, really good game, 27 for 43, 320, and 3 touchdowns. Also threw 3 picks, but again, this is a really good defensive game for him to have that stat line. That's surprising. He did very well. Ito Smith 4 for 32, so you saw him mixed in a little bit more. He also had 2 catches for 13 yards, so you see a little bit more Ito this week. Devonta Freeman just didn't really get enough carries to get going. 11 for 22, 2 yards per carry. Sorry, 2 yards per carry. So Freeman didn't look good. That's
even his receptions didn't even save his day. He was that bad.
No, he wasn't good. So the guy that actually started Duke Johnson, his other option, against me, his other option was Devonta Freeman. So he was going to be in trouble either way. Austin Hooper went back to being Austin Hooper, 4 for 34. But it's the Julio and Calvin show, man. Those guys are. Calvin Ridley is really impressing me. I think you're right about him.
Thank you.
He's a really good.
My one good call. He looks.
I didn't say good call, but he's doing a good job running his routes out there. He's got a nose for the end zone, John. He looks great. And him and Julio, that's a heck of a tandem if you're going against those guys. And of course, Julio 5 for 106 with 2 touchdowns. John, the last touchdown at the end of the game was a 50. I think that was the
screen.
54-yarder.
That was a screen pass, wasn't it?
Yeah. Ryan threw the screen pass to him, and he just.
Oh, he jetted. He was so fast.
He smoked everybody. He caught the screen pass, and you guys can't see me pointing at the desk, and then he just said, nothing that way, so I'm going to go all the way around these few defenders and just break.
His strides look huge, too. He just looks so comfortable running so fast. It was so fun
because it was at the end of the fourth quarter, and I'm like, oh, man, I feel like there's going to be a tie here. I need this game to end because my opponent had Wentz and Hooper. I wasn't so concerned about Hooper, but Wentz, I didn't want him to start scoring a ton of passes. I had a pretty good lead, though. I had like a 20-point lead. So anyway, once Julio did that, they were now up 4 at that point. So I'm like, well, Philly's got to have to go for a touchdown. A field goal isn't going to cut it. So I don't think I'm going to have to worry about overtime. Basically was what I was thinking, because overtime could have hurt me. But if Philly won, even if Wentz had thrown another touchdown, I would have still won the game and not had to worry about overtime. So
and
thank you, Julio Jones. Sometimes guys that aren't even playing on your team can help you win.
Yes. Ridley had 10 targets, 8 receptions for 105 yards and a TD. That TD he did score. He burnt the guy by like 2 or 3 steps. Perfectly caught the ball. He just looks. I know his like combine numbers and all that didn't stick out, but I think he's like that kid who doesn't test well, like during the SAT, but performs well.
He's not a physical specimen. He doesn't have the big spark score and stuff like that, but he's where his quarterback needs him to be, and he clicks, and he has that connection with his quarterback and that chemistry, and that goes a long way. And Julio's just the stud receiver, so I think Atlanta could be on the upswing here. Their defense looked great, John. Their defense looked great. Like, I was blown away. They shut down the Eagles for most of that
here's
game.
the thing. Everybody forgets because everybody's like, oh, Atlanta's awful. Atlanta's awful. They lost like 4 or 5 starters last year, and they're all back.
And Wentz had like negative 0.9 going into the half. Like, they shut that team down in the first half. And it wasn't really until the fourth quarter where Philly started, to get it going again. So yeah, no, it was a great game to watch, and I'm glad Julio helped me win.
Okay, that's it.
I think I got to go to bed, John.
Okay, get some rest, and hopefully
I can get rid of the sniffles by tomorrow's episode.
So,
I do not miss work, though, as you know, John, so I will be here.
Okay.
You got my word. But so for John, I'm DJ, and keep supporting us, guys, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, GoFundMe, all that stuff, guys. We want to keep doing this, and we're really having a good time doing it, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. So once again, thanks, and peace out, and I'm going to go get some rest and hopefully shake this cold.
See you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for supporting the show. Until next time.